Before concluding these lectures here on outputting data with the interpolation or before the bind and listening to events, there's one important thing I need you to know, or I need you to be aware of. Right now, we're most of the time using this in a way that once we output something, we output a single property, like for the counter or x and y. Before, we saw though that we also could call a function, which worked fine. That is, by the way, how we mostly use it for events. Here we simply pass the reference to a function, to a method we want to execute. Be aware that in all the places where you can access your view instance, so here when listening to a click event, or here when outputting the counter, so whenever we access our view instance, you can write any valid JavaScript code as long as it only has one expression and doesn't contain a if or if statement or a for loop or something like that. So simple JavaScript statements can be evaluated here. So for example, here I could duplicate my click button, and here I don't want to call increase, but I directly want to increment the counter by 1. Well, I can simply call counter ++ here. And if I save this, you see now I can click this button just fine and it increments my code, or my counter, excuse me. The same is true here for the string interpolation. I could easily output counter ×2. After saving, you see that now I increment by 2 here, even though I normally would only increment by 1. And here where I do increment by 2, well, it's by 4 now. So this is perfectly valid. You could even write short ternary expressions here, like for example check if this is greater than 10, in which case you could say greater than 10, otherwise you could say smaller than 10. If you now hit Ctrl Enter, you see that it is smaller than 10 until I, well, get a typo here, but until I obviously seem to pass the 10 border. This is how you can work with the templates here. It really is a mixture of HTML and JavaScript code, as long as you use template expressions like the double curly braces here. And this gives you this very strong connection between your HTML code, your template up here, and your JavaScript code, your view instance down there, all managed automatically by Vue.js, and giving you thus the power to write very, well, powerful and user-friendly applications where you have this natural connection. Think about the effort code like this would take to write with jQuery, especially once you introduce more complex relations and need to do all this checking for possible changes in one part of your application on your own. Speaking of that, we'll dive deeper into the reactivity of our properties in the next few lectures.